Greetings there, people of the world. IonicGecko here today with something a little different, something that I don't always or usually do. Usually it's, just gameplay of me, goofing off with my friends or by myself in a video game. But this time I wanted to take time because Battlefield 5 in itself is such a controversial game. Ever since it was announced or revealed, and everything that's happened so far with the beta and the alpha and everything we've seen and everything EA has said, EA and DICE has said, I felt like I should weigh in, or I wanted to weigh in. I wanted to go on the record just to give my opinions, my thoughts on the game, just to see if I'm right or wrong in the future. Look back on this and be like, oh, what a fucking idiot, or hey, I was correct, but more than likely I'm not. For me, I have been a massive Battlefield fan since I played my very first Battlefield game, which was Battlefield Vietnam back when it was released. I remember playing that distinctly and being like, damn, this game is realistic as shit, and oh my god, I love this. And then after that, playing 1942, loving all of that, and being so hyped for Battlefield 2, and just enjoying that game to the fullest. I don't even know how many, surely hundreds of hours poured into that. And with Bad Company, I even played the first one when it rolled out for the Xbox. It was a console game. Played that, enjoyed the single player. Never played the multiplayer for that, or I don't know. Console gaming, multiplayer gaming. I lost interest after Halo 3. I don't know. And besides, these days I don't even own a console. PC Master Race, as they say. Nothing against consoles. For me, it's more casual because it is. You're playing on a console. You have limitations of the console you're on, and the controller, the way you control your character and stuff, it's way less precise than a mouse and keyboard. I'm sorry, but it is. At least for me. Okay, you know what? Some people might be better with a controller than a mouse and keyboard, and that's fine. But me, it's always been mouse. PC. PC gaming is where I've always had the most fun. Build my own PC, so I'm a nerd. PC gaming, all that stuff is good. But I digress. The point is Battlefield. Been a huge fan for a long time. My favorite Battlefield, if I had to pick one. Like I said, a lot of good ones. If I had to pick one, BF3.
Do it.
Jam it away.
Oh shit. Oh, goodbye, motherfucker.
Oh, I only disabled it.
Oh shit, tower's coming down. Oh, goodbye, world. Oh, fuck.
Oh, God.
Dude, I was standing. Oh, I died aftershock.
I died because it landed right on my skull.
I saw it. Oh shit, there's infantry. I need help.
Alright.
Fuck it, he's not dead. Bitch. Oh, I got him. Jesus Christ. Oh, this guy, he came here. Oh, I got him too. Another guy.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, God.
I got him too. They can't drop me.
Oh, you flew the other way! No, look, the jeep's falling. It's falling down the hill. There it goes. It's going.
I'm coming.
I'm going. Oh, get it. Oh, get it. No.
It went backwards. That was crazy.
BF3 is, I can say that pretty clearly. Definitively, BF3, I played that for over 500 hours, poured into that, and just loved it. BF4 wasn't terrible on launch. Yeah, it had some major issues on launch. I remember that game's launch. Holy crap, it was broken as hell. But that game, it was improved. But in the end, for me, BF4 was just BF3 reskinned. BF3 mastered. It was improved. Battlefield 3. It just had more stuff, but it was set in the same era with similar, many of the same guns and stuff. So BF4, as fun as it wasn't anything revolutionary in the Battlefield franchise. But now, okay, let's talk quickly about Battlefield Hardline. You know, that wasn't DICE, thank God, because that game just, I played the beta for that, and holy crap, I just, like, what the fuck is this? Why did they call it Battlefield? Why was it a Battlefield game? Why couldn't it just be called Hardline? Or, you know, I don't know, I don't understand why they had to tack on the Battlefield name to that game, because I never played it. I saw plenty of footage, and I was like, fuck this game. It's like, what is this? Battlefield's always been about war. I mean, it's in the name, Battlefield. You're on a battlefield, and granted, you can be on a battlefield very small scale with only a few people, but still, we're talking about, it's a war game. So, Hardline, I don't count that as a Battlefield game. Battlefield 1. Now, that's interesting because BF1, I wasn't all that keen on when they first, well, like, when there were speculations, oh, it's going to be like a World War I game. It's like, oh, man, really, World War I? I'm not really interested in that. Never really was. I saw the launch trailer, I was like, okay, it got me hyped, and I was excited to play. I played the beta, but then I feel like after the beta, I was like, okay, I'm not, like, I felt like I played the game, and that's all I needed to play. I did buy it, played through the war stories, and I really, really enjoyed those. Like, for the first time, besides the Bad Company franchise. By the way, BC2, that's, like, a great game, too. I love that, just gotta mention that. BF1's War Stories, great single player. Apart, like, BF3's and 4's single player is weak sauce. I mean, they weren't complete shit, but in terms of engaging characters and interesting plot line, it's just nope. BF1 single player, great. Played the multiplayer. I've checked. I have clocked over, I think, just about an hour, if not even an hour, in the multiplayer. Like I said, I played the beta, and I feel like that's all I need to play. It never interested me. World War I in itself, as a Battlefield game, I felt it was limited in scope, limited with the vehicles and everything that was in it. And I was like, oh, I'm not really, it wasn't for me. So with BF5's announcement taking us back to World War II, that was exciting. I was like, okay, yeah, World War II, then that's more, I mean, just everything that you think about in BF 1942, just bringing it back with, you know, the Frostbite engine and everything. I was like, okay, that's going to be pretty sick. At least it could be if they do it right. But personally, I've always wanted, ever since BF4, I've wanted a Battlefield game to take us to the future. Bring back 2142. That was one of my favorites. I really love that. And, you know, a lot of people, bummed, like, just burnt out on future stuff. I don't care. I'm a sci-fi guy, so if they took us to the future, that would be amazing, because then they could just make up their own weapons, bring up their own vehicles, and it's like, let creativity roam free. That's the problem with placing yourself in a certain era, especially if it's something in the past. You're limited by that era, and the whole controversy with the historical accuracy and having, you know, women on the battlefield with and, like, black people, and, like, yes, there is a sense of social, I don't want to say social justice. It's just like, you know, it's modern. You got to think about it this way. They're trying to infuse modern ideas and just agendas into a game that takes place in the past, like 1942, when those ideas and ideals and things weren't around. They didn't exist, and I feel like that pissed off a lot of people. Personally, I don't care, but I can see where they're coming from. I can see why they're upset, even though I don't think they should be. In the end, when we're talking about a game, politics aside, if the game is fun, then great. That's what a game should be. A game, you know, I play games for fun. I don't care what BS is tacked on the side. Obviously, if it's not fun, then yeah, you really done fucked up. So, in terms of that, yeah, it's interesting, and since they're going sort of like a alternate history, World War II in a sense, because they are changing, you know, history, they really should have gone extreme and announced that. Just said, oh, this is alternate World War II. This is, like, not even call it World War II. This is a global conflict in an alternate universe similar to World War II, but it's not. And then you know, just have a bunch of vehicles and weapons and stuff that actually weren't around, or like things that came early, like have jets. Why not have jets in their, you know, Battlefield 5? In the end, I feel like that they could have done that, and justified it as alternate history. But now, since they only tweaked it and introduced all these modern ideas and stuff, that's why people got upset. And I can see that, and I understand it, even though I think it's pointless and stupid to get upset over that. Like, why would you want to get mad? Yes, tell the devs that this is dumb and not to do it. But in the end, if that's the reason why you're not going to buy the game, then good, fine. You do you. But that's what the game is. So in the end, if that's why you're not getting it, then I guess have fun playing something else. I want to play it, and I've played the beta, and it's been fun and interesting. There's a lot to discuss. This video hopefully won't be over a half an hour long, but I do want to just go over some things that have been going on in my mind, surrounding this game. So many issues so far. Bugs, I don't count bugs, because beta is going to be full of bugs. There's a lot of stuff to iron out, pushing out a game to millions of people. Obviously, you're going to have problems that arise with a game like this. But okay, let's start with the user interface, just the UI, and the way you have to go in the main menu, and that's where you have access to your company, and that's where you get your soldiers, your weapons. All that seems very convoluted and very stupid, and I hope they don't keep this in the final release. The fact that you have to actually you can't access this stuff when you're in a match, which is dumb, because obviously when you unlock something, or you realize, okay, you have enough of these in-game currency to buy, an unlock. You don't want to have to exit to the main menu. You could obviously, think of past Battlefields, BF 3, 4. You could obviously, once you got that unlock, it showed it on the screen. You could immediately put it on your gun in that same round. So that really needs to come back. I don't understand what the point of it is, why they're doing it this way. The fact that you have to buy with in-game currency, I don't care. That's fine. Because as long as it's a progression-based thing, to where you have to be a certain level to unlock a certain site or attachment, that's fine. That's what it's always been. Now, just in-game currency, they're pushing it that way because there's going to be cosmetics and stuff that you can buy. And this, again, people shouldn't be upset about. This is in games. This is how games like Rainbow Six Siege has been doing it for a few years now, and they've had all their DLCs have been free, and I think that's what you get with free DLCs. This is what you have to accept, because EA as a company, they're obviously going to want to make money, and this is one way of doing that. So I don't mind the in-game currency, having to buy your attachments that way. But the fact that you have to go in the main menu to access them and just to customize stuff is stupid. They need to get rid of that. You need to be able to do this in the game, similar to BF3 and BF4. I really don't understand what the problem was with that whole system. That worked great back then. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's a saying, and I really think they tried to fix it when it wasn't broken, and now they broke it. So yeah, they need to change that. In my opinion, that really needs to go. The whole user interface in that regard. What else? A lot of people have been complaining about the scale of the battles. They don't feel as big, and yes, I can see it with the beta especially. These maps don't feel very large. They don't feel like a Karg Island, or like what was that? That was my favorite map in BF3. Let's say what would be a good example of a huge map? A lot of the armored kill maps, DLC. Those were, since they were vehicle based, those maps were huge. And you had a lot of vehicles. You had plenty of vehicles when you spawned in. A lot of the points spawned vehicles. In this game, like, the points don't seem to spawn vehicles. Plus, at the base, there's only you get 2-3 tanks at the most, 2-3 planes at the most, and that is odd, in my opinion. You really, again, you gotta think, why did they do this? Why did they choose to go this way? And I really can't find an answer that makes sense, because what I would hope is that the Battlefield franchise, as new games come out, they make them bigger. Every game is bigger than the last. Like, so you get bigger maps, you get more vehicles, you get a higher player count. The player count for the multiplayer is still capped at 64 players, and at this point, I really think it should be 100, considering that DayZ, the DayZ mod back in freaking 2012, that had 70 players. Granted, yes, it's armor, but like the map and everything, you could do that. Technologically, that was possible way back then. We're 6 years later, and we still, Battlefield games are capped at 64 players. And then their Battle Royale mode, the Firestorm, that is going to be capped at 64 players. So unless it's like balancing issues, the map, if you had more players, it kind of gets fucked. But still, like, in the end, you got to change the map to have it be balanced with at least 100 players. I mean, come on, you want to feel like you're in a war, so obviously you're going to want as many players in a server as possible. So I really, that upsets me. I mean, it's, yeah, I wish they could up the player count. Even though I will say this too, I will admit, a lot of my favorite games that I had in BF3 were at 32 players, so like smaller games, mainly because as a player you had a much larger impact on the outcome of the game. You were 1/16th of your team, so you're a lot bigger. You played a lot bigger role. You're a bigger part of your team. So yeah, with the 64 players, you were only even a smaller part. You were like 1 in 32. So I did like the smaller games in that sense, but still, I would play 64-player games just because that's where you felt the scale. And again, I'm going to compare it a lot to BF3 and 4, just because those were, I feel like, some of the best Battlefield games there were. You had way more vehicles and just way more weapons, obviously. Apparently, BF5 is going to be launched with 35 weapons, and if that includes pistols, then you're going to be at, what was it, 6? You're going to get like 6 per class, which again makes very little sense. Why not give us more weapons? You only get the 2 factions on launch, the Brits and the Germans, which again I get, because they're going to give us more later on, and especially since they have this Tides of War where they're going to be releasing DLCs and kind of progressing through World War II, I would imagine. The Brits and Germans were some of the first to fight. Obviously there was the French too, so where are the French? Later on you got the Russians, but still, having more factions on launch would help. You could be like, hey, there's so much stuff in this game, buy this game, and now it feels like it's half a game. And to me, that's a lot to do with the whole early access alpha mentality. Those started on Steam like in 2013, I'm pretty sure, and I remember that. And now these days, early access, anything's in early access, I try and stay away from it if I can, just because I know it's not a finished game. There's going to be stuff coming in, and it's going to be buggy. And like, why would anyone want to play an unfinished game? Just to try it, sure. But in the end, when you launch a game, or like when you get to play a game, when you pay for a game, let's say, when you pay for a game, you want to pay for what is in the game. And if you're paying $60 for like an unfinished game, then I feel like that's just stupid and really dumb, just way of going about it. So I hate the fact that these days it seems like developers and just publishing studios, they give you a taste, they give you just a little bit just to get you interested. You pay the money, you get the game, and then it's like, why isn't this in here? Why isn't that in there? Well, it's coming. Why wasn't it in the on launch? So that whole just mentality of pre-ordering something that isn't even finished, and yeah, really needs to change. And I think I'm personally, I don't buy as many games as I used to, that's for sure. Just not having the time, but also just knowing that most games that are released aren't going to be finished. So that's probably one of my bigger complaints, is like they give us too little. And but I'm still hopeful. I'm just going to end this with that. I am hopeful that Battlefield 5 will be a good game. We shall see. No one can say anything for sure right now, but the signs are not good. The indications that we're getting right now is that it's gonna have a lot of issues, and we can only hope that DICE does their best to fix and listen to the community and really try and tackle the issues that people are bringing up, because that was the one thing with BF4. They had the CTE, the community test server, and that apparently that was helped improve that game a lot. I never got on there. I kind of stopped playing by that time. But in the end, that's what really they need to listen to the community, because that's what where you get your money. That's your customers. That's your fan base. And if you lose their faith, which a lot of people already have, and that's a lot to do with. I don't like putting a whole lot of blame on DICE, or at least not the developers themselves. There are people who at EA and DICE that are in charge of just seeing that sales are made, and then they have their own ideas that they might want to implement, but in the end, the developers actually programming the game are there to really make a fun game. They put a lot of passion into their games, and I love DICE as a company. The Swedes have made great games, and Battlefield is like their past Battlefields have been great titles, but now I feel like something's changed, obviously, and it's like their business approach is different, just to maximize profits and screw over the customer, and that's really gonna bite them in the ass, because people can only be fucked a certain amount of times before they're like, yeah, fuck you, and they won't buy your games. And they really did that with Mass Effect Andromeda. People were upset with that. I like that game, but I again see a lot of the points people brought up with even that game, and that's BioWare. So, but again, EA. This is EA I'm talking about. The money, the people in charge of the money. EA obviously owns all these studios. EA owns BioWare. EA owns DICE, and these dev studios make the games. But EA is in controls them, and can tell them what to do. And in the end, if the higher ups at EA and DICE are making stupid decisions, then it's unfortunate, because they screw over the game and the developers making the game with passion and really pouring their hearts and souls into it. And I can only hope that things change after Battlefront 2. A lot of people were unhappy, and I haven't played that game in a while. I should go back, but a lot of people are unhappy with the pay-to-win aspect in that, and the fact that microtransactions seep in everywhere. Because again, it's EA, it's a company. Companies are not people. They want to maximize profits, want to get as much money as possible, and sometimes they go too far. And I really think they have gotten a kick in the balls from players, rightfully so. Just because people have lost faith, and it's justifiable just seeing what they've done. So in the end, for me, just wrapping this up, for me, Battlefield 5 will be a tipping point in whether or not I kind of come back to stop playing Battlefield, because BF1 played just over an hour, paid the full price, I'm pretty sure, for that game. I didn't pre-order it, but still paid for $60 or 60 euros. So, and I played an hour. That's not, for me, that's not a worthwhile investment. Even though I did play the single player, but Battlefield's always been about the multiplayer. So if I don't play like 60 hours, for me it's almost like an hour for $1 or €1. And if I don't play 60 hours of a game that I paid $60 for, then it's not worth it for me. So if I don't play a whole lot of Battlefield 5 when it comes out and enjoy it, then clearly they've lost their touch, and they've lost their way, and they're not making the game that I want to play, and the games that I love, the Battlefields that I loved. So it's a tipping point. The next Battlefield 6, if it's the same bullshit, then I'm not buying it. I'm not getting the next Battlefield. I'm sorry. You gotta change. You gotta speak with your wallet. That's how companies change their, strategies. If they don't make as much money, they're gonna change. They're gonna do something. They're gonna make things differently. So we'll see. I'm gonna get Battlefield 5. Gonna play it and hope for the best. and be patient. A lot of people that as well. People have lost patience and they like want everything now, want it to be great now, and it's obviously not going to. Things don't happen instantaneously, and the fact that BF5 has free DLCs, that clearly EA has heard us and they're making changes, but they need more. They need to actually commit to all these things that people are bringing up, all the issues with the game. And yeah, if they don't change it, then screw them. We will not support them. That's how you communicate your messages, by not giving them your money. So let's hope the game is great when it launches. I mean, I suppose the delay it's further better, but I don't know if a 1 month delay is enough. I feel like they should have just pushed it to next year for me. If they can add everything they promised at launch and just add some more stuff, great. Then delay it by 3 months if you need to. So we'll see. We shall see. I really got nothing else on this. Let me know what you think of the game. Have you played the beta? What do you think about this whole... Like I said, the whole aspect with historical accuracy, having women in there, being like social fairness and their social justice agenda, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit. I couldn't give two craps. If the game's fun, then it's fun, and I'm going to play a game that's fun. That's why I play games, for fun. Battlefield, again, if anyone arguing historical accuracy, just look at BF1. Look at what is in that game and tell me that was how history was. Nope. Like, if you want a historic, like, realistic game, military shooter, play Arma, play like Verdun, play, what's that World War II game, Postscriptum. Those are realistic, and if you say those are too boring, then you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know, you gotta choose. You gotta go one way, whether it's fun or realistic. That's up to you. So I really don't care about the whole fact that there's women in the game. There's stuff that didn't actually happen in the World War II. They obviously miscommunicated, and the marketing for this game has been poo. They really, like, the launch trailer, even though I thought it was cool, really didn't communicate what was going to be in the game. They really should just showed gameplay and be like, okay, yeah, this is what it's like and stuff. So because that's not what the launch trailer is not going to be what the game is going to be. That's just stupid to even think that. So yeah. Anyway, I'm done with this. You tell me what you think in the comments, and I will catch you people on the flip side. Peace out.